Aloha. Today I just wanted to make a quick video in response to a few questions that were asked in a private message, and they relate to a bunch of other videos that I've put together, but the way they were put together, I saw that I could actually put together a video to readdress these perspectives from a more up-to-date um, version, I guess, and tie it into the last video, like build upon the last video where I was talking about the West world and the programmers of this reality and the deprogramming of the experiencers of this reality, and really just go a little further into some more of the agenda relating more specifically to the alien agenda, the New Age program, the synthetic spirituality, synthetic universe, the flat earth, the heliocentric model, uh, and pretty much how this whole program works. And from my perspective, not completely obviously, but just how it works in reference to how it's defended against, how it expands itself, how it affects our history, our present moment, and our future. And this program is extremely compartmentalized. It's never a one thing. This is why when I make these videos in reference to particular channels who are only focusing on, like, some channels who are just waiting for flat earth to go mainstream, other channels who are focusing on villains, like one particular bad guy, and not really straying from that course, other channels who are not even talking about flat earth at all, only talking about either conspiracy theories or politics, calling themselves some kind of label like aggressive, progressive, or whether you come at it strictly only from a religious perspective and it's all about like when Jesus comes back, or all of the answers are in the Bible, nothing else matters. See, all of these things that I just listed off, these are the compartments of the compartmentalization program that are designed to keep people comfortable in the simplistic mindset of thinking you know what's really going on, when the macrocosm of the entire storyline is the the accumulation of how all of these stories really fit together. And I'm not saying I know all of these things, and no, I'm this is just how I perceive my reality, and I share that just to help people. Just when you're having a conversation, you learn from people, and I've learned a lot of things from my experience, and I learn a lot from other people sharing their experience. So that's what I'm doing here. I don't mean to come down on anybody for whatever it is that they do, because I understand that every thread of information is existing in order to help people get to a particular whatever that next step is. And we have an individual storyline and we have a collective storyline. And right now, as we walk through time, it's going to take us questioning our reality to the umpteenth degree to really get into interpreting how deep this mind control program on an individual and a collective scale goes. Um, and if we maintain this story that it's only about, this one person, this one group of people, this one storyline, like Alex Jones says, it's only about, making America great again, and Donald Trump is going to do that, and um, whatever it is, whatever your focus is, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying from my own perspective that it's never really a one thing. It's always all of these things together. And the the more we get into connecting the dots between all these storylines, the easier it will be to disassemble this disempowerment and de-evolution program and start to reassemble what empowers us individually and collectively. And I say re-empower because um, there's nothing new here. This is why the new age exists, to make you think that, something is new based upon what the so-called powers that be say is new. This is in order to, the new age program exists to separate you from that which is so-called old, your ancestors, your roots, your genetic code, your blood code, your culture, everything that is organic to your experience, your physical reality, and organic to your interpretations of the non physical reality which your ancestors were tapping into. So the new age is designed to create that program as the next evolutionary step. And there's multiple versions of this so called new age. It's not just the new age like the new age community. It's the new age in reference to the new age community. They have a technological new age. There's a transhumanistic new age that's part of that. There's an alien agenda new age. There's a political new age with globalism and trying to make a one world government. There's there's the astronomical new age where they're trying to go to Mars and trying to say that they're discovering all these planets. All of these are versions of the expansion of the colonial European mindset. Um, I just went to a graduation ceremony yesterday, and I was reading in, I think it's the commencement book or whatever it is, the history of like the cap and the gown and the mortar board, or the that is the cap. So they call them the cap, the mortar board, and then you have the gown and you have the robe. And this all goes back to medieval European times. So everything that this system in the system that we are calling the education system today is based upon the medieval European mindset. And I heard all of these speeches that were talking about, revolution and, thinking for yourself and getting your education, the importance of education. And that, when you are sold that, and you are sold that as the peak of the evolutionary mindset of this reality, you're really seeing that peak is an extreme limitation. The All of these quotes that were from like Che Guevara, Nelson Mandela, Harriet Tubman, they're all channeled into the idea of success being based upon the European education system, which sets the foundation to the colonial program, the neo-colonialism that exists today. It's not it's still a colonization of the land, but the next gear, that's the physical reality. The next gear is to colonize your mind. This is where technology comes in. This is where social media comes in. This is where all of these diseases that these kids are having, because of the food, because of the water, because of society, because of television, because of the technology, all of this stuff is affecting the psyche. That's the next level of mind control. The next level of mind control of that, beyond that, is to lock down the soul. This is where this one world religion stuff is going to come in. The new age, the new age, pretty much religion is going to come in. It's already coming in, and that's in reference to like the old school religions, the mainstream religions. It's the same thing. And scientism itself is a religion in itself. This is how they're going to make it like cool and hip. And this is why Bill Nye has this TV show talking about he's going to save the world. This is what the mindset there is, the world, how they perceive the world. These are your leaders of the world, and if there's no life in this universe other than us, they are the masters of your universe. Your universe is sold to you upside down, backwards, and reversed in every way, in a sense that it's an illusion designed to lock you into a mind control program from the ground up. Every cell in your body, every non physical cell in your soul driven experience is manipulated in some kind of way to have you believing your reality based upon what these artificial reality pushers tell you it is. This is why when you look on Netflix, you see Bill Nye Saves the World. You see all of these alien, unsolved or uncovered or unveiled documents. These documentaries about aliens. Everything in Hollywood about aliens. You can see that this alien agenda is going to be a part of the next idea of reality. Not to mention only that it also expands the mindset, or it formalizes the mindset of the heliocentric universe. It makes it real for you because you think that the universe is what they tell you it is. And if you go against whatever it is that they're telling you, they automatically just ignore you because they have the ownership over the mic. That's why Neil deGrasse Tyson grabbed the mic and dropped the mic, because he he was telling you, we have the power to voice what your reality is about, and based upon your level of consciousness, your interest, whatever it is, you pick and choose what it is that you will invest your emotional body in, and you will invest your focus, your psyche, your conscious and your subconscious intention based upon. You will channel that energy into whatever it is that you're comfortable with. Some people are comfortable with talking about flat earth. Some people are comfortable talking about conspiracy theories and politics. Some people are comfortable talking about race, whatever it is. All of this stuff matters in its own way, but the only way that you can truly be empowered is by connecting the dots with all of these stories. It's the only way that this system will actually be addressed. Anything else will be just within the box. In these one of the speeches I heard last night at the graduation ceremony, they were talking about basically getting your degree gets you out of the box. And it's a total lie. It gives you the illusion of freedom. It gives you the illusion of empowerment. That's not to say that it doesn't empower you in some way. That's to say that on a larger perspective, it's actually designed to lock you further and further into the mind control program, individually and collectively, because when somebody gets a degree, that affects the entire family. And that's another way that they sell. It's like, you're the first one to go to college. You're the first one to, get a master's degree and all this other stuff. So it's an extremely intricate system that's being sold to the individual and the collective, and it's being sold to you as an extreme positive when in fact it's designed to be an extreme negative. So, or an extreme limitation. And these individuals know this. They know their limitations. They know their max out rate. People like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, Obama, all those people that are at that cusp of the puppet strings, they know exactly what's going on in some kind of way. And same thing goes with, Joe Rogan and Alex Jones and a few of the other people that are talking about or not talking about this information. This information is available. They know this stuff. That's the only way that these so-called powers that be can remain in power, their very existence at the top of the so-called food chain, for back of a better phrase, is based upon them maintaining illusions. This is why the so-called leading astrophysicists of the world um, felt threatened by a rapper, B.O.B. This is why he feels threatened by, or they feel threatened by YouTube channels. Joe Rogan, the same thing, why they feel threatened. And that's the thing. If you are standing in your truth, you shouldn't feel threatened. If it's all about the truth and true science, then you would be about going deeper into what debunking yourself. That's how a lot of people got into questioning the flat earth reality, is to question yourself, question your surroundings, start to ask yourself, hey, maybe these so-called powers that be might not have our best intentions in mind. Maybe they're trying to make um, the system of haves and have-nots more extreme so they can have more and we can have less, on and on. And it's not, you don't have to look very far to see that that's actually going on here. When you see all about poverty, the Flint, Michigan water, the indigenous and the aboriginal people, the soaking of the minerals and the resources of nature, the destroying of the resources in nature, the destroying of indigenous and aboriginal history, the amplification of Western civilization in the Columbian agenda. Um, all of these things exist, and it's only your responsibility to go into how they all exist. So when I reference racism, I'm talking about a systematic um, program that exists to maintain a psychological, physical, and spiritual locking down of an entire race of people. It's an entire to structure. Why do you think this is what racism is not about so much about what one individual says, like a racist phrase? That's not what that's the checker game that they want you to be caught up in. The little childish back and forth nonsense that's based upon ignorant people who are raised by ignorant parents who just continue to expand that ignorant experience on and on while the program just expands around them. It's a systematic expansion of a mindset and a systematic implosion of a particular race of people. And it starts with you can trace this back to the melanated storyline. You can trace this back if people are still having issues with seeing that racism exists, and where I'm coming from in that storyline, as far as one of the sections that are very much a part of this. And to say it's all of it, because people get really touchy when you even reference racism, which is a big, like, red flag. If you can't talk about something as um, obvious as racism, then that's obviously something that you need to talk about. It's extreme right now. Your prisons are filled with black and brown people. This doesn't mean that there aren't not melanated people in there. Of course there are. But your inner cities are literally melanated people. Your prison system is filled with melanated people. There's more melanated people in the United States than in entire like countries, populations of entire countries. And people get to that story and think that's where I stop. I'm like, no, that's just what it is today. The story goes well beyond that into the colonial program. This is where I'm coming from, even further than that. The roots of the Western civilization. So when you getting caught up in like the idea of racism today and trying to act like it doesn't exist or it doesn't have a focus. Like I said, if you want to understand the scientific explanation or interpretations of how racism fits into this bigger picture, then I would suggest looking into Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. And it's extremely important to realize that this the human story is largely it's equal to and a part of the evolution deception and this out of Africa hoax. It's equal to it. The evolution program is designed to tell you that you came from monkeys. It's designed to tell you so you become this evolution mistake or evolution just happenstance, just like the Big Bang. That is a deeper layer of telling so-called African Americans or Aboriginal Americans that they are only from Africa. This story, the out of Africa story, the black slave African American story, the slave story. This is not to say that some slavery didn't exist. What I'm saying is that the main reason why that deception exists is to take away from the human experience storyline that melanated people were all across the earth plane before any of the colonial programs even started to document history. Everything that people get caught up in is within the Columbian era. If I say anything about it's not just about the Zionists, people are instantaneously triggered. So once you can see that people are instantaneously triggered by saying it's not only about the Zionists. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious not only the Zionists. It goes deeper than that. It's including that today, kind of like the African American story is today in reference to the melanated people being across the earth plane thousands and thousands of years ago. It's the same thing. You can tell a lot about from an individual where based upon what triggers them, like where they're coming from and what challenges them, because that's when they start to reveal what it is that where they're really coming from. You can say, oh, okay, well, that's obvious, so you know what I'm saying. But this is why I say the human story is equal to the flat earth story. The story of the people of the earth comes first, in my opinion, because it's the experiencer that's equal to the experience, and you wouldn't have an experience if you didn't have an experiencer. Just as vice versa, you wouldn't have an experiencer if you didn't have an experience. As of now, we've had our ancestors already interpreting this experience. So in order to tap into what our ancestors already interpreted, we have to understand the story of the experiencer, which is the human story. This is why I said the evolution program is not just as simple as, oh, it's just about monkeys. We're not from monkeys, let's just celebrate it. No, go further. Challenge yourself to see further into how that program affects humanity, how it affects particular people, how it affects children, how it affects the elders and the adults, how it affects everybody. Go further into that. Me just sharing that observation of the out of Africa story is that's basically like another Big Bang. The out of Africa story is like another Big Bang. There were melanated people all over the place, and in order to believe that things are the way the European system tells us they are, we have to not question that reality. This goes with flat earth and everything else. So this is why I've made videos talking about particular channels, talking about, look, you're actually doing more harm, in my opinion, than good by telling people it's only about this or it's only about that. And if you say anything about anything else, then you're a racist or you're this or you're that. You know what? Call me whatever it is you're gonna call me. I welcome the haters. It's always gonna be haters out there anyway. You just give me more fuel to interpret and tune into another layer of expressions. I get a lot of information from haters out there, so I'm not tripping on that. But this system is designed to hate on you in order to maintain a limitation of an expansion. You're not allowed to expand your consciousness. So this is why people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye and even Michio Kaku and Barack Obama, they have this childish response. And this goes for even like people on YouTube. Comment sections are making like so-called debunking videos. They have to ignore one of the defense mechanisms. Well, first they gotta laugh at you, and then they gotta, demean you and make these childish attempts. But what they're really doing is ignoring how they are wrong. That's the thing. People who are questioning the information about the heliocentric model and going further into what the possibility of this experience might be are really in a constant state of growth. When you have the old programs who are in a constant state of defending an illusion, which is not growth, it's a sheeple mentality based upon somebody else creating your reality for you. There's no empowerment there, none. You are actually being locked into, you're locked into a prison, and that those prison walls are meant to keep you dumbed down within the colonial mind control program. So how they do this is they set the tone. When Bill Nye got on that comedy show and he just dropped the mic, he said, "This is how you defend this storyline if it was based on truth, if the heliocentric was based on truth, if it was based on true science, if it was based in any kind of reality. They would have these demonstrations. There are no demonstrations. There is only this egoic, childish, ignorant response to somebody challenging their reality. And all we're doing is asking questions. So you have children who just do that. You have adults, man children, woman children who do the same thing. And it's an automatic, it's a knee-jerk response. It's the people the other day just asked me, what about, time zones? What about this and what about that? If they're really interested, that says more about the person. They're not really interested when somebody approaches you like that. They're interested in a sense, and it's not to come down on anybody, but it's really, I'm more interested in the style of approach. I don't got time to be, dealing with any kind of like with your emotions. I'm talking about information, questioning your reality. It's not when it really boils down to it, it's not about your emotions. When people, what about this? Well, first of all, get that emotion out your mouth. Stop spitting that emotion in my face. And if you really want to talk about some real shit, then we'll get into that. But we can get so much further if we're not fighting ourselves. So it takes a lot. That's what a lot of people who don't come from a questioning of their reality perspective, they don't realize it takes a lot to not only start looking into the flat earth information or the not globe information, but it takes even more to even put yourself out there and say, well, I'm going to share information based upon this. Going to expand upon this. I'm going to go take it a step even further and, share this very career ending, um, friendship ending, persona ending in so many ways information with people. That takes a lot of courage. So people who are listening to this video right now and you make videos, you talk to people, just um, remember that. Remember that it takes a lot. Not a lot of people are gonna do that, and it's really a huge thing because you're not just talking about flat Earth. You're you're helping people think for themselves. That's bigger. This is why I share the importance of the human experience, the human story, equal to, if not bigger than. Because you won't understand the depths of this reality unless you understand the depths of yourself first. The experiencer will determine how much of their experience that they actually can interpret and understand. So if you understand more about yourself, you'll be able to understand more about this experience. So that's why I say, yes, racism does exist. It was an extreme, so much of an extreme part of this human experience that they literally labeled melanated people, specifically black people, as 3/5 of a human, 3/5 of a non-melanated person. That that's a big thing. That's like an extreme psychological, spiritual, and physical prescription drug or disease that still exists today. This is how long this program takes to get out of our systems. And just one person say, well, it doesn't exist anymore, we just need to move on, we can't talk about that stuff, things are so much better. That's not going to make it better. Actually acknowledging the depths of this and healing these wounds is the only thing that's going to make it better, and it's going to make it better over time because there's so many people that have to process this energy and information in their own way, in their own time. It's not going to happen overnight. So we have to go to the depths of every single storyline and stop being caught up in the checker game of these are the good guys, those are the bad guys. Acknowledge these players on the chess boards, the various chess boards, the soul, the mind, and the body chess board, and don't get consumed by any one of them. In fact, expand the story as far as you can go, and then regroup, see how it fits with all this other information, expand it again, constantly expanding and contracting the story. See it from the outside, see it from the collective, see it from the historical perspective, see it from your ancestral perspective, see it from the non-physical perspective, whatever you think that is. See it from mainstream religious perspectives, see it from political perspectives, see it from all of these giant perspectives. Then contract it and see it from your emotional body. See it from, the your mother or your father's emotional body, their experience. See it from the inside out. And then see it from the outside in, and then go back and forth, and then revisit those perspectives later on down the line, because it's going to look completely different, and you're going to see something that you didn't see before. It's just like watching a movie 10 years later. You're going to see so much information that you didn't see before. Same thing goes with information and even your thoughts. Your thoughts will expand. Locking the heliocentric program into your reality, locking these individuals in your face, like these people, Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson, they're actual like spell pushers. They're like witches, like dark witches who create a hypnosis that literally affects your consciousness and diverts it from expanding, because you don't even, you have no desire to think for yourself, because these individuals tell you that everything is millions and millions and millions of light years away, and it's so complex that you can't even fathom what the world's leading astrophysicists can fathom. Ha ha ha. I am the big man on the campus. So just go back to work and shut your mouth and keep giving us $50 million a day to go to Mars 10 years from now, to do this 20 years from now, and shut up. And they constantly keep pushing that thing out. This is like Back to the Future, the movie. You thought you was going to have flying cars in 2015. I did. I thought we was going to have hoverboards in 2015. What they do, they get that stupid ass little board with them wheels on it that's catching planes on fire. Like all kinds of shit. This is how this program works. They have to sell you toys and illusions to make you believe in their artificial power over you, their so-called intellectual power over you, because they tell you that they are the next evolutionary step from monkeys. They are the smartest monkeys in this planet of the apes, and you're just a stupid ape that just has no doesn't have enough intelligence to make it in this world. And in fact, they have the intelligent program locked down. They give you your intelligence. They literally have to give you a degree that you have to pay for. That's how far this program goes. This program goes all the way into them locking down the very expansion of consciousness. So, yeah, this is why I said we have to question this experience as a whole. And like this image shows you right now, they use their tools like television, like TV shows, like the music industry, like their celebrities, their politicians, the government, the public education system, these activists that are out there. Leonardo DiCaprio speaking at the United Nations, Hermione speaking at the United Nations about, you know, all this stuff, all this transgender stuff. This is all to take the monkey evolution program to the next illusory step, to water down, to muddy the waters of your divine essence, your human experience as a whole, to muddy the waters of what your ancestors have already interpreted. So the out of Africa story, that's to muddy the slave story. That's to muddy the waters that the melanated people were all around the earth plane before any of the colonial programs even set sail. Before they could even wash themselves. People talk about, oh, Europe, yeah, like that Eric DeBay video. Europe is for Europeans. Go into the histories of the Moors' involvement in Europe. The Moors being the original Irish people. The Moors being the the actual civilization of, and this is not to say that the Moors and the Moors just means black at the same time. So this is just to represent like a historical time in our history of the so-called Europeans that we understand today learned all of their societal customs and all that other stuff from the Moorish time frame. So all this history is not told to you. This just shit wasn't taught to me in school. I had to go research this on my own. So all that information exists so that you can worship whatever it is that is so-called new today based upon history that they tell you today. They don't go any. And I was talking to a history teacher the other day. She got a master's in history. She got a master's in, or yeah. And then I started talking about, oh yeah, well, I dabble in history a little bit, and um, I told her, oh yeah, mostly pre-Columbian era, history and still observing, the closer historical perspectives, but mostly going to the depths of what history. No, she's like, oh no, I'm a school teacher. I have a master's in U.S. history, so she literally couldn't even talk about any of that other stuff. That is the wall. That's the box that's created around our mindset, and it. When you talk about something deeper, it just throws that master's degree right out the damn window. It doesn't even matter anymore because the story goes deeper than that. But that's a good example of the thousands of dollars and how many hours going into that degree, that work, and all that pride that's in it now. And that's not to take away from anybody who goes into the degree program and all that other stuff, because it's not about the degree, it's about you being able to accomplish that feat. That's the actual thing that matters. And that's what they sell you in these graduation ceremonies. It's, oh, you made it, you did all this other stuff. Well, yeah, that's it. That's the actual essence. And it really, and then they channel that energy into the medieval European perspective and say, well, we gave you the ability to do this. We give you your accomplishment. It's like, no, I chose to accomplish it. I chose to channel my energy into this. Whether it's a limitation or not, I actually did this. The thing is, if you just do that and stop there, which is the 99th percentile of this entire reality, that's where the entire conscious program gets stopped, stifled, and the limitation programs kick into gear. Diseases start to set in, control starts to expand, and people become disempowered because now you have people who pride themselves in accomplishing a limitation, and then you have people who are hating themselves because they haven't achieved that limitation. So it's a very fine line between um, the, uh, there's fine lines all throughout this, just like a thin line between love and hate. It's a thin line between all of these different storylines, but they're still connected. It's still one storyline. So, and I want to close this video out. I just wanted to share a few things, and I'll get to the questions in a second. I pretty much answered the majority of the questions, and like I said, to the individual asked these questions um, that I'm going to get into in a second. The majority of that information has pretty much been already addressed in a playlist that I have on this channel called Synthetic Spirituality, Aliens, ET, the New Age, and Channelers. It's a playlist of all the videos that I have in reference, or that I've done in reference to how I'm seeing the so-called next mind control program, the next step of where this system is hoping to take this control grid. So let me finish this out. Yeah, so back to the flat earth storyline, how they ignore you. They ignore that they're wrong. Well, first they laugh at you, then they ignore you, and then all that other stuff. But what they do and how they defend themselves is they actually ignore how they are wrong. This is what I was saying earlier. There's so much information that, and you can see this when you're in live events or even when you're talking to somebody, you bring up a solid point about the sun, a solid point about curvature, a solid or the lack of curvature, a solid point about NASA, a solid point about whatever it is, these very solid points. And people get to that, and then they say, oh shit, I gotta go somewhere else. And then they just find something else. So it's like it goes from the sun to the curvature to gravity to, time zones to whatever it is. That's people trying to trying to hold on. That's how deep this program goes. And one of the main reasons why people do that is because it's literally about the foundation of their reality. you're challenging people's reality. So they ignore how they are wrong. That's how they bounce around, and that's a problem. That's an actual, probably in the future sometime, somebody's gonna actually come up with some kind of label for what that actually is, having to bounce around from this because that doesn't fit your reality. There's probably something similar to what that is out there already, some kind of label to what that is already. Um, Cognitive dissonance doesn't really, that's like a part of it, but there's something more complex about the psyche of it. Cognitive dissonance just really explains the act of that existing, but it doesn't really go into, how that exists, like what that actually is. So yeah, so they ignore how they are wrong. They attack or laugh at the observations and then expand upon their attacks based upon, what they've been programmed to say or regurgitate or whatever it is. And that's the thing. At the basis of all of this that I'm saying right now, this is not about being right or wrong. People who are trying to defend the globe are always in the space of being right or wrong because that's how these heliocentric pushers sell it to you. They sell it with their giant ego. They sell it with their giant television shows, Ancient Aliens, and all this other stuff. They sell it to you. And it's so deep in our subconscious, we just eat it up. And then we actually repeat those patterns. And what I'm saying is that it's not about being right or wrong. It's about going to the depths of interpreting this reality. It's right or wrong is the belief system that is the stepping stone towards the truth that is ever expanding, the truth that is, until the depths of the truth is the depths of interpreting this experience as a whole. If you were to get to the depths of the truth of this experience, then you would pass on to a new experience so you can expand your consciousness in that higher vibration or then that next experience. So the depths of this truth, this is just shallow, like newspaper truth, like just like the that's what questioning the heliocentric, it's just basic when you really boil it down, because you understand that the entire globe model is an illusion. They make money off of this stuff. This is newspaper stuff. This is mainstream. 10 years from now, this is going to be we're going to look back at all these videos and be like, man, that shit was rough back then. Like, that was some roughness. Whether the mainstream talks about flat earth or continues to ignore it, whatever it is, people are gonna look back at this stuff and be like, man, that was rough. Because the interpretate the mainstream consciousness will be expanded. Um, Not from mainstream, I'm just talking about overall, just with people naturally. I don't know what the mainstream is going to do. I just imagine they would just keep selling the same programs that they have been. This is why I said, or for people who are just waiting for the mainstream to become, hip to the flat earth game and start selling it to people, like you're waiting for an illusion. You're waiting for another limitation program. You're waiting for um, your slave masters to give you the okay. You're waiting for something that's that's another disempowerment program. Doesn't make any sense. So that's why I question, and I have questions for a lot of people who are just, sitting around thinking that everything is okay. If you were looking at the human story, you wouldn't be just sitting around. If you have thousands, tens of thousands of subscribers, you wouldn't be repeating yourself talking about this regular ass bullshit about, oh, well, flat earth is becoming um, known by actors and basketball players. This is amazing. It's everything is really changing. That's a trap. It's bullshit. This is why I said the human experience, going into the human experience is crucial to what's really going on here on a deeper layer. You wouldn't be wasting your time talking about, and I know it's not really wasting your time. Some people need this stuff, but for a moment, get out of that and say, look, there's people on the streets today. If you were to challenge yourself, you have tens of thousands of subscribers. If you were to share one thing that you actually feel near and dear to your heart, that is in reference to so many other people out there, it might be difficult, or you might lose subscribers, or it might be uncomfortable for you to even talk about this information. That's why I said it's not about you. The people who are talking about that, that's when you see that what people are for when they respond like that. This sharing this information about ain't about you, the person, the individual. This is about the human experience. Some breakfast. Oh man, where did I leave off? So yeah, it's not about you. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about the information, the fabric of this reality. And if you're just waiting for the mainstream illusion pushers to give you your fabric of reality, then you're waiting for another mind control program. And in my opinion, you're doing more harm than any good. But we're helping people. We're making ourselves available for people to be okay. Well, you see it that way. But that shit is dangerous because you're setting people up for another mind control program. Like this says, this will not provide an education that will overthrow its own system. That goes for revealing, so-called revealing the flat earth. If they sell you information through Shaquille O'Neal, through Jennifer Aniston, and whoever else, these actors, Leonardo DiCaprio starts talking about flat earth, they get in your face and say, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden say, it's time for us to come together on this flat earth and create a one world government. Now what? Now what the hell are you going to do? You got your wish. This is a be careful what you wish for. People who are talking about, I can't wait for the mainstream to go, or the flat earth to go mainstream. Be careful what you wish for. So I said, this stuff is, right as of now, it's still ignoring this information. That's a very vulnerable space, and people have a responsibility, whether you take on that responsibility or not. It's up to you. Eventually, we all will, whether this experience or the next. But for people who can hear, who have ears to hear and eyes to see what I'm saying right now, if you have all these people who are listening to your videos, just step outside of your little egoic persona for a second and say, what else can I talk about? What else is this? What else is pertaining to this storyline? How deep does this story really go? Is there anything else that I can possibly relate to this storyline in order to expand this perspective and really get into, the information that empowers people? Because the system is not about empowering people. It will continue to lock you down. This is not education, it's an indoctrination. So if the flat earth goes mainstream, do you think it will be any different? Will it really be any different? Same thing goes for this alien agenda and all this other stuff. Do you think it's going to be any different? They're already setting it up for you. So, it's a good segue into these questions. So, thanks again to the person who put these questions out there. I know a lot of people I've been also thinking about this kind of stuff, but yeah. So, first question, my question to you is, what do you think is truth? I pretty much shared my perspective. I think I kind of like remembered these questions and answered around the outskirts of these questions earlier in this video. But the truth is ever expanding, how I see it, and it does have a core. There is a truth of the human. There's various layers of truth. You have the experience. You have the experiencer, which is a basic truth, and then you have historical truth and how that relates to particular perspectives. Perspectives that are locked into a limitation program will see their truth from the eyes of, for example, like Alex Jones. Other people see their truth from the perspective of David Icke. Other people see their truth from the perspective of, I don't know, the black conscious community. Whatever it is, um, the ultimate truth boils down to your relationship to the reality as a whole, the relationship to yourself, and then cross referencing that with everybody else's truth and how they interpret their experience of this reality as a whole. And it goes from the simple truth of the truth that you get from observing, trying to question what humanity actually is, and observing the heart of a child, observing a child's response or engagement in this experience because they haven't been subjected to the depths of the mind control programs that adults get into. We haven't even gone into the depths of that yet. And then you have the alchemical truth, so the balances between science and spirit. So this is where the ancestral truth comes in. So you have all these layers, and then you have like truth like the Zionists being engaged in, controlling all this other stuff. Is that not true just because it's, simple pretty much? No. It's true just in this one compartment. Is it the only truth? Hell no. Does the story go deeper than that? Of course it does. This is what I'm saying in reference to what our responsibility is to people who call themselves like truth seekers and all that other stuff. And what are you really talking about here? Are you talking about truth that's comfortable for you? Or are you talking about truth that is all encompassing? And like I said earlier, that all in the all encompassing is forever expanding outside of your particular experience right now. What I'm saying is that truth carries on beyond your so called death. So if that's the case, then this truth of this experience is just based upon how your soul experiences this reality. So you have the individual truth, and then you have how the collective interprets the collective truth, and how the individual interprets the collective truth. But like I said, there is a core that exists there that is in reference to the marriage of the experience and the experiencer. That's my best explanation of what truth could actually be. And it's all of the above and ever expanding, from the most non-attached, the most detached perspective as possible. So out of this mind control program, bubble war of mainstream media, news, politics, etc., and the polar opposite, which is the New Age movement, what else is there? Can we trust all this consciousness stuff? What can we trust? So I pretty much referenced that already. The all of the stories of war exist in reference to power. The system, if the system is designed, these are based upon magicians. Magicians sell you illusions. So if your consciousness is can be sold a blade of grass and call that your experience, then the system will sell you a blade of grass. because that remaining energy of your soul that's beyond just a blade of grass can be harvested by these so-called powers that be and utilized. This is what the fiat currency system is, the maritime admiralty system is, the so-called capitalistic system is. They're selling you doggy treats, and people are living this animalistic experience and living off a blade of grass. People who challenge their reality even further say, no, I'm not going to just expand upon, I'm just not going to do this. I'm going to go further into the program, and I need, a patch of grass. So they have that set up for you. You can use this as an example of the university system. Oh, here's your patch of grass. Ah, I got a patch of grass. Forget all you people with that blade of grass nonsense. I made it. Look at this patch of grass. And even further into the power, or what the intention of this program is the land. It's the land is a part of the power grid. This is what the colonial program is about going and conquering these lands, taking the land. You're taking the relationship from the human, between the human and the experience as a whole, and you're locking down on a physical and non-physical experience the way the experience actually exists. So um, you have the land, you have the power, you have the psyche, you have the consciousness as a whole that exists, that's been compartmentalized into things like war, like the mainstream media, like the news, like these politics and etc., like the New Age movement and everything else. It's been sold back to you in reverse. And it's up to the individual to get out of the illusions and take the information that is beneficial for you and discard the rest. Because the system is based upon bombarding you with the information that's not beneficial for you. That's where disease sets in. It's designed to weigh you down and keep you in this busy, codependent mode of sheepism. And in reference to what can we trust, that's going to be up to the individual and how they are connected to themselves. Are you your ability to discern for yourself, your ability to um, continue on the path of expanding your reality from the inside out. Start by trusting yourself. Then you can go into information that you can trust. The more you trust yourself, the more you'll be able to discern information and be able to uh, understand what information and what people even you can trust and what perspectives you can trust. And that can take an entire lifetime. It takes an entire lifetime for people to trust themselves. So start there and then work your way up, because even and the information actually helps you trust yourself too. So it's like a exponential growth of learning how to learn, yeah, and then learning how to trust. The information itself actually helps you do that. So it's just a matter of constantly realizing that you're in an ever expanding process, and there's always something to learn. There's always something to do. And once you think you've got it, you're just actually setting yourself up for the next chapter. It's going to be forever growing. And it's a beautiful thing when you really think about it. And once you engage in that from that perspective, it's it's different than this. This isn't indoctrination to go to school. It's a linear program. Remember this information, regurgitate it onto a quiz, and get graded based on. We grade you. We judge you, and your success is based upon our judgment. That's what the entire university system is about. That's what all of these degrees and all that stuff is about. We judge you. Your accomplishment is based upon what we tell you. the European medieval system. That's what that cap and gown is. This is not to take away from the accomplishments of being able to get through that program. This is to go to the depths of questioning that reality as a whole and how that reality affects the consciousness of the individual and the collective. So you have, yeah, the New Age movement is to do that same thing, is to sell it to you instead of war, selling it to you from an emotional body, fight or flight, lower vibration. The New Age movement sells you the same disempowered program from a so-called positive, uplifting, higher vibration. The only thing is that both of these lower and so-called higher vibrations still exist in a box, largely, because the New Age movement is based upon tools, it's based upon the alien agenda, it's based upon channeling, which is another limitation. These are all, like, when you see channels, if you want to know more about the information, go into that playlist I mentioned earlier. Quickly, channels have to go into, or channelers have to go into a state where they lose a part of themselves in order to allow this information to come in. When you do that, you're going to have limitations. People have bought into that style of information gathering, and in that process, they have bought into not only the positive information that you get, but also the limitation that you get, that channelers actually are. Then when you marry that with the observation of the channelers being like Cryon being invited to the United Nations, then you can see, oh, something is off here. Something is not true. And this is largely based upon a limitation program. I have to figure out what this is. So, yeah. And then, what about aliens? Alien. Just look at the alien agenda. Look at Netflix. What that's designed to do. It's heavily more sexualized than the last time I saw Netflix, like a year ago. Um, but it's extremely sexualized. The gay agenda is extremely amplified in there. The alien agenda has grown like tenfold. So you have the ancient aliens, you have these secret file, alien file information stuff. You got Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon asking the presidents about the alien files. Just by that existing, you have to really question yourself and say, look, they are literally pushing this information. You have to see that that's for a purpose. It's not for your benefit. It's for the benefit of the system itself. Just like all of those other programs that are in that mind control program do. What does the gay agenda do to the divine masculine and the divine feminine? What does the sexualization of the masculine and the feminine do to your relationships, to your family, to your experience, to the power of the people? What does it do? What does social media do to human interaction, to family interactions? What does all this stuff do? This is everything. This is interpreting the mainstream, and disassembling the mainstream will make it easier to see how these programs, like in these questions, work. So stuff like aliens, first start to question, if you already know that Netflix and the mainstream, okay, so the mainstream media is easy to see that they're trying to make you think and act a certain way. So Netflix is doing the same thing. HBO does the same thing. Hollywood does the same thing. Now that you know that, you have sat and said, look, they're giving you some sort of idea of positive information, but the intention is to actually weigh you down, to control you, to program you, to condition you to think a certain way. So that's when you can say, oh, well, let me see what they're trying to make me think. When you see the Frozen movie, when you see the whitewashing of Hollywood, when you see all these actors that are of, Asian descent, African descent, being played by white actors, constantly. This is not new. This is the thing. This is an actual fact. Not only are they telling you that, and they hide behind, oh yeah, well, they're just, this is just, we wanted to try something new. No, you're not. That's what they tell you. Not to mention the fact, this is another thing that a lot of people don't reference, is that they're also telling you that so-called white people are also more talented than anybody else. They are the most talented people to play. Nobody else. There's no African person that could have played that African king better than this, like the Avatar guy, or the the um whoever else, all these, not these white actors who play black roles or Asian roles, like that Tilda Swinton lady played an older Asian man in Doctor Strange. They're not only, and they tell you, oh yeah, we're just trying something. No, you're telling people subconsciously there is no other Asian person in the world that could have played this role better than Tilda Swinton. This woman, this white woman, was the, oh, she was the best bet. So you know what that does to the subconscious of not only the adults but the children? That totally rips apart so much that's down there in the depths of what we don't even perceive into our reality. That's where I'm coming from when I see this stuff, and then people will get up in this shallow talk. Oh, you're a racist. You're talking about racist stuff. No, I'm not. I'm going deeper than that shallow perspective of that reality. This is about how this affects the subconscious and the empowerment of people as a whole. So the aliens does the same thing. The aliens just a complex version of the expansion of the Big Bang theory, the evolution theory. The aliens are being sold to you as the future us of today. So Bashar, he's the future version. He's a channeler. He's the future version, or the channel for the channeler Daryl Anka. For example, Bashar, his channel, is like the future version of him 700 years from now. So that's and his picture of is an alien, and they sell the alien agenda, and they literally like kind of short circuit when you say anything about the flat Earth, because you're explaining a different universe. They exist. The alien agenda exists in the synthetic universe. This is how the New Age program relates to the heliocentric program. It's an illusory program that's been invented by the consciousness engaging in the illusions of the synthetic universe. So we actually create it in the so-called future, and this information comes back. This is how I perceive what channels and channelers are. It's based upon our consciousness engaging in observing this reality, and this information comes back 99 in the 99th percentile, but that last 1% exists in order to maintain the synthetic universal existence. So they'll give you all this 99% of unconditional love and positive information and all this other nonsense, but that 1% exists to maintain their synthetic universe. That's how I see what channels and channelers are. And that's how that relates to this alien agenda, is to maintain your belief, which is your consciousness. The beliefs, this is, it goes from the beliefs to the truth to the conscious experience as a whole, the all information that exists. So these aliens, or this alien agenda, exists to maintain the illusion of this experience as a whole. And this system can make a profit off of your giving away to illusions, whether from a fear perspective or a loving perspective, from a fear of aliens or an asteroid attack from this crazy heliocentric universe, or the positive effect of aliens are coming to save us and be a part of this community, in 2035, and all this other nonsense. And what's happening right now is that you just continue to give your power away. And some literally people money away. I've been to these channeling events back in the day when I was literally believing in that reality. I see what's going on there. I know this firsthand that that's what's going on. So, yeah. So that's how I see how the alien new age agenda fits in with, Netflix and all this other agenda stuff. And yes, they do pose as false gods, um, with that information and that perspective of reality, just like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye does the same thing from a boots on the ground perspective. They are literally calling themselves gods when they're shutting you down from questioning your reality and being a free thinker. They're literally saying, I am the god of this reality. I know the law or the theory of gravity. I know the theory of relativity. I know the Big Bang. I know the speed of light, information, and the astrophysics of this reality like nobody else. I am the smartest monkey in this universe. I am your God. If you question me, Bill Nye actually alluded to this a while back, talking about people who don't believe in climate change should be locked up or something to that extent. So that's how far these people are going. They're literally playing this God and King program to pretty much sphere you into a submissive state. Aliens do the same thing. These channelers do the same thing, trying to bully you into a submissive and codependent state. These channelers are the same thing. You can see people listen to these channels, they repeat themselves over and over and over again. So you don't think further. They don't want you to think beyond what they're telling you. They want you to come back and listen to what they have to say a week from now and pay another $200 and say it's different. So how long can that go on? Well, as long as they can keep generating these stories and you keep believing them, that's how long it can go. And it's a stepping stone, how I see it. It's a stepping stone. That information exists for you to either get locked into it, just like the mainstream media. You either lock yourself into it and say that's your reality, or you expand upon outside of it and start thinking for yourself. These people who are these so-called globe heads and all this other stuff, they're not thinking for themselves. They're just caught up in their emotional body or this nonsensical illusion, and just regurgitating whatever it is that they've been told to. So you have aliens, okay, I believe in false gods, false beings of light, the dark energy is so deceiving, I feel as if I can't trust anything anymore. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing, that it's meant to make you feel chaotic and lost. So you can fall into whatever it is that, this they want you to. This is why all these programs exist. Your politicians act like your daddy and your mama. It's like, oh yeah, I don't know what to do. I need somebody to lead me in this reality. Oh, well, vote for this person. Vote for Trump. Vote for Hillary. Vote for Bernie Sanders. Um, I'm so lost in this. I don't feel a part of this society anymore. Oh, the New Age community. Oh, everything is so beautiful and lovely. Oh, these aliens, these are channelers. I've always believed in aliens before. These channelers are talking about aliens. Oh, this is the good information. This is the stuff that I'm comfortable with. Oh, I love this community. It's just another buffer zone. It's a catch guard, a spill guard. It's just to catch you and then lock you into another structured sort of limitation box, never really realizing that this is all set up. So I was so committed to New Age theories, to practice of raising my frequency and all that. After a while, I felt so limited. So yeah, it's exactly what I was just saying earlier. That's the intention of it. It's to give you the illusion of it. And they use real stuff. They use like crystal energy, like your relationship, like what you feel when you go and take your shoes off and walk in the sand or walk in the ocean or walk in the forest. You actually feel something. Same thing happens when you have a crystal in your hand. You feel something. But if you take that energy and you commercialize it and you sell it and you take that tool. These are all tools. They're healing tools. It's about energy. It's not about like using it like a prescription drug. That's a different. That's what the new age is as a whole. It's a prescription drug when they sell you. So that means that like it doesn't mean that the minerals that they're using in these prescription drugs are bad. It just means that those prescription drugs are designed to have an effect on you. And if you were to take the minerals, the nutrients of that, and not be consumed by the the uh, the poisonous soup of prescription drug that gets melded together by all of this nonsense and of that is a part of the new age community, then you'll actually see what's going on. You can see the energy and the frequency for what it really is. So just because the new age community uses words like energy and frequency doesn't mean that those words have no meaning, that they don't have any existence. No, they have to actually use what is real, what has some kind of meaning. And because if they didn't, if they're just making stuff up, then you wouldn't really believe it. It wouldn't sink in. So that's how. It's the same way like the mainstream news works and politics works, and even all these false flags. Like some of this stuff like happens in some kind of way, but the majority is it's just all an act. They've had a lot of people out there, and it's designed to have an emotional trigger on you. Same thing happens with the new age program and all this other stuff. It has an actual intent when it's all pieced together and you lock yourself in that box. But if you get the nutrients out, you do something with it, that's different. And they don't want you to do that. In fact, you're an outcast if you do that. That's how I feel now when I'm around people that I used to hang around with back when I was heavily locked into that new age box. I can't even talk to people anymore, especially now that I'm talking about flat earth. They're like, oh, you're one of those guys. Like, all right, whatever. But that's the intention. It's just using the ego against people. It's ridiculous, but it's an alchemy. It works, and people use it as a stepping stone who actually get out of it. But sad thing is, a lot of people don't see it as that, and they see it as the best thing in the world. And Netflix softly adds to that by putting these so-called alien documentaries on there, and even Ancient Aliens does the same thing. Ancient astronaut theorists suggest. Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. They're creating your truth for you when they say all that stuff. And they promote, they project this theory. Could it be that aliens came and did this and basically it's not your ancestors, it was all aliens? Could it be that ancient aliens came and visited, and then they say ancient astronaut theories say yes, commercial, boom, big old burger in your face, and you lock it into your emotional body, your physical body, you lock it in with this dopamine program from the commercials, and then they come back and give you some more information. Ancient astronaut theories say yes. They're creating your truth, your reality. So, let's see. And just to find out, all this mind control is all just distraction from what I believe, distraction from finding our true God. Yeah, so, yeah. Whatever you want to call it. I feel uncomfortable naturally from that word. I usually use the word God, and I use the word or the phrase Most High, or whatever the essence, whatever it is that is natural. All of this stuff to me means what that word means. Um, And since all of this stuff to me means what that word means, to use that word actually takes away from what all that other stuff means, or those other connections. It makes it too simple. That's why I don't like using that word, just as a side note. But yes, these are distractions from connecting to the essence, your natural experience, your most high, your beyond the physical reality, your within the physical reality, everything. A distraction from finding your true everything. Um, yeah, your true balance is from the soul, the mind, and the body. Everything. So, and how do we know that crystals, yoga, astral projections aren't practicing demonic dark energy practice? Unless, like I said, um, this is a possibility, but at the same time, um, when I astral projected, it was something natural, so I don't see anything wrong with that. I didn't feel really comfortable there, but it was an experience, so I can't really say that that's dark energy a practice because it's something that just happened. Um, so just because these programs are so intricate doesn't mean that the like I said, just because the New Age program is designed to, from my perspective, to create another limitation program. That doesn't mean crystals are bad. That doesn't mean sacred geometry is bad. It doesn't mean alchemy is bad because this is referenced by like the New Age community and stuff like that. It's just a matter of how just because because there's like a difference between Western yoga and Eastern yoga. So these Western yoga, yeah, I could see that as being something because of the way it's used. They use it like a prescription drug. A lot of it's not everybody, but it's used like another prescription drug. It takes a lot of the essence away, and so yes, that could be loosely explained as some kind of like dark energy. No different than like the mainstream media or any other kind of prescription drug. But I wouldn't really use that terminology to take it that far because it's more complex than that. It's not really that simple how I see it. Um, so, to take it even further, you have these fake gurus who use stuff, and apologies for the lawnmower in the back if you can actually hear it. You have these fake gurus that use crystals and yoga and astral projection and hypnosis and all this other stuff and even alien storylines to make you believe in something, take advantage of people. So yes, that's working with darker practices. Um, so that's as far as I would be able to expand on that right now. In my recent research, I found that many of these tools have been used centuries ago in demonic rituals. So yes, the alchemy itself has been used for a more destructive intelligence. That doesn't mean that that doesn't take away from the alchemy itself, the definition and the existence of alchemy itself, and the alchemy being used for also creative intelligence or the expansion of consciousness. And you also learn from these darker practices. You learn from them. So, not to say do it and then um, I'm not condoning it. What I'm saying is that over time, by watching other people who are gravitated to using alchemy for darker practices, the observer says that's some jacked up nonsense. We have to be aware of that, and we can't allow this to happen and be used against the innocent people, or so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's just another way to see how that stuff is used. And like I said, just because people who have their own interests in mind for alchemy and like darker practices and stuff like that doesn't take away from the alchemy itself. Um, but you do have to be aware that there are people who are entities out there that do access these channels like that. So we're practicing and working with these tools today. We are in turn connecting dark energy and strengthening it. So, in a sense, being ignorant, yes, like the term in ancient Kemet was ignorance is evil, and today is that in the Western civilization is ignorance is bliss. So, in the ancestral, so yes, by being ignorant of the way this program works, it is strengthening it. So yes, the New Age program being ignorant of the depths of these storylines, the alchemy itself, and still engaging in that does, in a sense, strengthen that program, which is pretty much what the New Age, how I'm saying and explain what the New Age program is based upon. If you just go into it ignorantly and just say, oh yeah, well, this is the new world. We don't need to be bogged down by all of this other stuff. It's just all better. We just need to connect with our Pleiadian brethren and our Andromedan brethren, and everything will be okay. We can't we can't be consumed by all of this racism and all this other stuff. That's just old. We have to expand our consciousness beyond. Okay. No healing happens there. No acknowledgement of history or wounds happens. My main point and why I reference this constantly is to say that, not to harp or point fingers at anybody, but just to say that you can't move forward. You can't know who you are, and you can't move forward until you know what has happened, what happened before today, what our history is. You can't move further until you know the depths of that stuff, and that's why this story, this program doesn't want you to do that. It doesn't want you to go that far or go into that. And at the same time, they install this artificial version of moving forward and your artificial version of being in the present moment. So that's pretty much what I have for this video. Thank you again to the person who asked me these questions. It was very designed for how I structure my videos. But that's pretty much, how, like I said, I've gone into specifics of everything that I mentioned in this video in other previous videos, and you can find those in that playlist that I mentioned earlier about synthetic spirituality, aliens, extraterrestrials, New Age, and channelers, and so on and so forth, and other playlists that are talking about other stuff too. So I guess I'm being rushed off the stage by the weed eater. So thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.